Alright guys, and welcome to another video. Today I want to talk a little bit about what could Classic WoW Season of Mastery 2 bring to the table. Blizzard have actually left a little hint in a blue post where they said we won't be doing class changes this season, which has made many people believe that they will make changes in the future. To be honest, I think it's a real shame that they didn't make more class changes this season because I think it would have drawn more players. But I feel like this season is still more of a beta test to see if people are actually interested in playing Classic WoW again. By the way guys, if you're looking to make some nutty gold right now in Season of Mastery, Solheim has made a very good guide. It includes all of the best possible gold farms that you can do in Season of Mastery and a lot of things like gold investments to invest in before the new phase of content is released and everything like that, so be sure to check that in the description and use my discount code. Now, the topic of class changes is interesting. There's three things I really want to talk about this video, and it's obviously class changes, but also more quality of life improvements and extra features that they could add to Season of Mastery realms. Would Blizzard just change the percentages of certain class abilities? For instance, the proc chance of, a Paladin's damaging seal like Seal of Command, or even something like Wind Fury weapon? Could they reduce the mana cost of main spells that a Balanced Druid and Shadow Priest use to make them more viable? Or would they add some of the abilities added in the Burning Crusade or removed in the Classic WoW beta, for instance like Crusader Strike, Vampiric Touch, which we obviously know were added in TBC, but obviously what you probably don't know is an ability called Black Arrow that was removed for Hunters some point in the beta. And to be honest, I think Crusader Strike was actually one of those abilities originally in the beta for Classic WoW but removed. Would they buff the support value of meme specs rather than just increasing their DPS? For instance, they could increase the crit value from Moonkin form to 5% rather than 3% like it is in vanilla, or they could do a bit of both. I mean, would they be even more drastic and just change all of the classes, maybe give classes Wrath of the Lich King talents and abilities? Like Warlocks could be running around in Demon form, Shadow Priest could have Mindseer, or a Ret Paladin could have something like Divine Storm. If they pruned some of the talents down and reduced the level requirement for TBC and Wrath of the Lich King abilities, I think they could definitely make it work. They could even add abilities but added even later in World of Warcraft's lifetime, like from Cataclysm and even something like Legion for instance. This is probably the easiest way Blizzard could introduce some really interesting class changes with very little effort because they can just rehash ideas that they already have. Personally, I think drastic class changes are pretty essential for a Season 2 of Classic to be successful, because without class changes I don't think enough people will return to play Classic yet again. I mean, some people will obviously because people just love Classic, but definitely drastically less than this season. A number of quality of life improvements could also be added. For instance, some basic stuff like the instant mail between characters. They could have the retail style pre-made group finder. To be honest, I don't know why they haven't done this, because it's just so much better having, a list of groups that you can just sign up for. The TBC classic version of this is just a bit pants in my opinion. They could also do AoE loot. They could have a mount and toy box, so you don't have to keep those items in your inventory taking up bag space. They could do the XP boost even further, increase it by 100% instead of the 40%, and then they could also do stuff like resurrecting at the instance entrance rather than at the graveyard. All of those little things that we, if we're going to be completely honest with ourselves, do miss from playing retail. They could be even more inventive and add new features like gear colour changing or something similar to Transmog, but I'm not really a huge fan of Transmog if I'm going to be honest. They could add the extra Druid forms that were added later in Retail's lifetime. Blizzard seemed very keen to actually change the cosmetics of Classic WoW. I think they have changed, recently added the Incubus to TBC Classic, but I think that is more of a political thing. They could give us the alternative pet forms that they have now in Retail, a little bit similar to how they have alternative polymorph books. You just get a book, and then that's it. Your imp pet can change. I also think the honor system could do with just being thrown on, a furnace or a tip, because it is very archaic. I think they should rehash it with a rated system. Imagine rated battlegrounds in Classic WoW. 20v20 pre-made rated Alteric Valley with no engineering or gimmick items usable in those modes. It would still be incredibly unbalanced, but who cares? Same if they added arena, like it'll be totally unbalanced, but, you know, who really cares? It's just a bit of fun really, isn't it? I think they should definitely add a specific hardcore server as well. It would just be much better that way, because obviously it's very annoying getting griefed by people not doing the challenge when you are doing the challenge. They could have an instance with a horde style mode, so imagine a dungeon portal inside the Duskwood Town Hall, and inside this instance you have to defend the town from waves and waves of undead and little bosses like Patchwork, and then obviously you get decent loot rewards from that. You know, just some half decent filler content that you can do when you're not raiding. They could also add raids, but the only issue with this is obviously the release schedule is now pretty tight in Season of Mastery. I think it'd be better if they just continued to change the raids. Maybe they could change some of the most boring bosses with different bosses, and then give the raid like Molten Core a bit of a makeover to make it more interesting. As we know, Molten Core was kind of rushed to development, and that's why it's a bit of a plain raid. End of the day, it's just a big cave really. It's not very inventive or creative at all. There could be heroic dungeons for all of the classic dungeons. It would be good, because with a tight release schedule of raids and, you know, limited raid loot and big raid sizes in classic WoW, it could give players better and more gear options. Especially if they made the heroics really hard, and then they could drop near to raid quality loot, and then you could only release a couple heroic dungeons for every raid tier. So for instance in like, you know, Molten Core tier, you could have heroic Shadowfang Keep and Dead Mines, and then later when AQ is released, you can have heroic Stratholme and Scholarmance. Anyway, who knows what the future will hold. I think Blizzard are showing more enthusiasm to make changes, so hopefully more will come. We've experienced classic WoW without changes. You know, we've been there and we've done that now. Why not just now make a better and improved version of classic WoW instead? I mean, hopefully guys, I'll get on this community council things so I can directly give all of these suggestions to Blizzard. But the whole outlook on that went pretty quiet, and I've not had any emails, so who knows what's going to happen with that as well. Anyway, my name is MetaGoblin. To the next video. Ciao.